Pennsylvania making the decision that, you know what? The 1798 Aliens Enemy Act is good to go. That the Trump administration may and can use the 1798 Act to deport members of the known violent gang TDA from Venezuela out of the country. Stephanie, let's see, Haynes was the district judge, the federal district judge that made this decision. She announced just yesterday they can, in fact, use this Alien Enemies Act for deportations of gang members. This seems to echo what we had actually heard in a temporary basis from the Supreme Court. There's been a lot of back and forth, and you have a lot of different judges all over the country, some of whom have a very political agenda trying to get in the way of this. But this is the biggest that's just come out recently, and pretty significant, important, because it now suggests that they can move forward as they had anticipated with these. So again, the Pennsylvania U.S. District Judge, Stephanie Haynes, ruling that the federal government can use the 1798 law to deport Venezuelan gang members who are believed to be trying to sow violence and distrust, etc., and are working against the U.S. government. Remember, as we began the show, and I was talking about Tulsi Gabbard and how she fired a couple of people and more are on the way. Well, some of that has to do with her department having issued a report saying, oh, there's no problem with TDA. And the Trump administration's like, excuse me? Because, yeah, there's a problem with TDA. This is a gang that's violent and at odds with the U.S. interests. Maduro is somebody who clearly is not on our side. We've talked about that a lot, over the years, and I have a lot of experience there reporting from Venezuela and reporting on that entire situation. So Nicolas Maduro being a known foe of the United States, and this being a gang, it is believed by some members of the intel community that these gang members are being sent purposefully by Nicolas Maduro to the U.S. Whether or not that's true, the fact that you have gang members that are violent and in the U.S. from a country that is at odds with the United States of America seems to be enough, would be enough, should be enough. Anyway, she's saying it is enough. So that's a very, very big deal.
Number one, DOJ said a federal court cannot...
I want to just, as we lead into this next soundbite, I want to go to this because a couple of weeks ago, Stephen Miller was adamant that the Supreme Court was on their side on this one and that they should be able to deport people that are believed to be at odds with U.S. interests. Whether you're talking about the Aliens Enemy Act, whether you're talking about the 1952 Act, which was put in place to afford for the State Department to be able to deport students that they believed were at odds with U.S. interests. All of this comes back to, okay, what is good for our country? And if somebody is here illegally or somebody is even here legally with a visa and they do something bad, you should have the ability and the jurisdiction to get rid of them. Here we go.
Number one, DOJ said a federal court cannot compel the executive branch to engage in any mandated act of diplomacy or incursion upon the sovereignty of another nation. So your argument is that you don't have to bring him back home, but will you?
So I want to correct, I hate to do it, Bill, but I got to correct you on every single thing that you said, because it was all removal.
Oops. This is pretty funny, guys.
Court case.
We're going to go back. He's going to correct him.
But will you?
So I want to correct, I hate to do it, Bill, but I got to correct you on every single thing that you said, because it was all wrong. First, we won the Supreme Court case. Clearly, 9-0. A district court judge said unconscionably that the president and his administration have to go into El Salvador and extradite one of their citizens, an El Salvadorian citizen, so that would be kidnapping, that we have to kidnap an El Salvadorian citizen against the will of his government and fly him back to America, which would be an unimaginable act and an invasion of El Salvador's sovereignty. So we appealed to the Supreme Court, and it said clearly, no district court can compel the president to exercise his Article 2 foreign powers in any way whatsoever. DOJ called me after that Supreme Court ruling, and they said, this is amazing. We won this case 9-0. We are in excellent standing here. So this has been portrayed wrong for 72 hours in the media. They said the most a court could ever compel you to do would be to facilitate return, which would basically mean if El Salvador voluntarily sends him back, we wouldn't block him at the airport. We would put him back into ICE detention, and then he would be deported either back to El Salvador or somewhere else. The Supreme Court said that is the most the government can be expected to do. So we won the case handily. The misreporting on this has been atrocious.
Okay,
Secondly,
I appreciate
he was
the
not. No, Bill, it's
clarification that's the
important.
case.
He was not mistakenly sent to El Salvador.
Okay, so do you still
He's
believe
an illegal
he is a
alien
member of
from
MS?
El Salvador. Hold on, this is important. In 2019, he was ordered deported. He has a final removal order from the United States. These are things that no one disputes. Where is he from? El Salvador. Where is he a resident and citizen of? El Salvador. Is he here illegally? Yes. Does he have a deportation order? Yes. A DOJ lawyer who has since been relieved of duty, a saboteur, a Democrat, put into a filing incorrectly that this was a mistaken removal. It was not. This was the right person sent to the right place. Now, some have said, well, but he had a thing called a withholding order. So a withholding order means you've been ordered deported, but an immigration judge is saying you cannot go back to a particular country. Here's the thing. If you are a member of a foreign terrorist organization, you cannot have a withholding order. Since he's in MS-13, there is no withholding order. Furthermore, the gang that he is accused of being persecuted by doesn't exist anymore in El Salvador. The 18th Street gang is gone. So you have an illegal alien from El Salvador. Bill, where are we supposed to send the illegal alien from El Salvador?
You haven't even
to what
allowed me
country?
to ask you a question. Are you convinced he is still a member of MS-13? That was your original charge.
Yes. Not only, but here's the thing, Bill. Yes, but here, not only am I convinced of it, not only is El Salvador convinced of it, Bill, he's an illegal alien from El Salvador with the deportation order. So his only options in life, Bill, his only options in life are to be deported to El Salvador or to be deported to some other country. That's it. He has a deportation order. So, Bill, you tell me, what country should we deport him to? Tell me, please. Tell me.
So Marco Rubio on Sunday morning said this. On Saturday night, another 10 criminals from
He's changing the subject. The problem at this point is that you now have many district courts with different decisions. And so this will have to go through the appellate system. The question then becomes, can the Trump administration say, okay, well, Pennsylvania said it's okay, so we're going to move forward and we're going to deport some of these people. I suspect that that's exactly what they're going to do, sort of, move first, ask questions later. Eventually, it'll work its way through the appellate system and likely up to the Supreme Court. I would anticipate that the Supreme Court would come to the conclusion that, yes, if you have people that are deemed threats here in the United States of America, if they are known to be threats and possibly being sent by countries who are trying to mess with us, for lack of a better term, then you would be able to use what has been in place since 1798 with the Aliens Enemy Act. That would be my anticipation. But as for whether the Trump administration moves forward with additional deportations, I suspect they will. And what would stand in the way of that? Not much. Because unless you're going to impeach him, and that's not going to happen right now, there's basically free reign for him to continue doing this. So his goal is to clean up the country and to get rid of illegals that have criminal records. Don't forget, these numbers are insane. This is off the top of my head, but we've gone through this before. Over 600,000 people that are known criminals are here illegally in the United States. And more than 50,000 of those people have really, really bad stuff. We're talking murder, sexual assault, you name it, okay? So do you really want to be protecting those people if you know that these are the bad guys and they're here illegally? It kind of seems to be pretty obvious that you should be deporting them, because why should it be the burden of the U.S. taxpayer to even have to take care of them, whether it be at Alcatraz or Rikers Island or anywhere else? Now, Garcia, you haven't heard a lot about him, right? Garcia, remember that guy, the wonderful father, even though his wife had requested help from authorities because of domestic violence, whatever. Well, he got deported down to El Salvador. One of our team members here on the Trish Regan show, David, was just down in El Salvador. He actually was just meeting with Bukele, and he went and did a tour of CICOT, and it was just unbelievable. I mean, he sent me the video, and I probably should show it to you, but it gave me nightmares. So I'm going to refrain. But David Leatherwood, Brokeback Patriot is his name on Twitter if you want to go check out some of the footage. But it's pretty unbelievable. Bukele, however, I would point out, percentage-wise, has fewer deaths in his prison system than we do here in the United States of America. Just saying, okay? On a per capita basis. Anyway, David was down there. He saw this. I said to David, the one thing I want you to find out, and he did, was whether or not Garcia is suspected of crimes there in El Salvador. In other words, he's still in prison, right, in El Salvador. The reason is David confirmed through Bukele that, yes, indeed, he is believed to be a gang member, and they had stuff on him, and hence he is still in prison in El Salvador. So there you go. Wow. Okay, unbelievable. We have more breaking news to get to. Subscribe, share, like. It's great to have so many people here. I'm looking at all your comments as they're coming in. Don Backer reminding you to smash the likes. It helps the algorithm.